this mainly addresses issues of governance, issues of transparency, issues of corruption, as I will go through in detail. So if we were to look at the first pathway, and I know you've already maybe looked at it. So here, what are some of the challenges which we want you to address? We want you to address the quality of education. So we want you to move away from just, providing a curriculum and then teaching to skilling. So we want you to look into the curriculum and identify some of the ways through which we could better skill our children at, secondary schools or even at universities, so that they get out with the quality skills which can, make them survive in the environment today. But also we want you to address the challenge of unemployment in these communities. So how can you use curriculum development to address unemployment? What new ways can we introduce that could address unemployment that phase? And what are some of the examples of solutions? We are looking at approaches that are more effective and interactive in terms of teaching. What are the new teaching technologies or methods, like child-to-child learning? Can we harness child-to-child learning instead of having a teacher teaching a child? Can we have children learning from their fellow peers? So we are looking at some of those ideas. And secondly, we are looking at providing some alternative opportunities for education, like tapping into some non-informal sectors and these providing education. So we want you to change the current trend in the education sector. But then also we want you to look at some new forms of multimedia for learning. Like how can you use a radio? How can you use a phone? How can you use a television to learn? Instead of airing news, playing music, how can you tap into the TV or the different programs that are aired, but this time around directed to learning? So we want you to think about the different multimedia and then use this multimedia for learning. So that's the first pathway. So the second pathway briefly looks at financial inclusion for wealth creation. And what are some of the gaps that we've found out in our research? We've found out big barriers to saving and access to credit, especially in communities that are rural. So some of these communities can't access a bank. So we want you to change these communities. We want you to address those barriers. What are the barriers to saving? What are the barriers to accessing credit? And then you come in as innovators to address that. Then the second barrier has been pervasive consumerism. So we want you to change the attitude, basically the orientation of the communities to saving instead of consuming all the income that they earn. Then also, lastly, I want you to look at diversifying livelihoods in these communities. Most of these communities, rely on subsistence farming. So we want you to look into these communities and find new profitable businesses which you can propose, like in Uganda, in DRC, in Tanzania, and then also in Rwanda. So what are some new ways of diversifying the livelihoods of these communities? And I will also give you some few examples. So we are looking at novel technologies or approaches or platforms that can facilitate saving among smallholder farmers. Like how can you use a phone to save income? So how can you change the mobile money either on MTN or on Airtel into a small bank on the phone for saving? Then also we want you to give us some disruptive forms of currency. So how can I walk into a bank with my 4 or 5 goats and I tell them to credit my account using my goats instead of me selling them maybe to markets that can be exploitative? So we want you to give us some of those options, like new forms of currency. How can you transform like livestock or crops into saving, into currency? Yeah, then also we want you to give us some new credit circles for the future where people can go and access loans at a smaller interest. So I want you to give us some of those innovative ways of accessing credit from maybe some new forms of credit circles. Then also we want you to help like communities to tap into some emerging industries like mobile, telecom, like transport. So how can you create businesses from such emerging industries? Like we have a lot of motorcycles that are doing border, that are transporting people across. How can you organize these into like maybe safe border or other platforms so that people can make business out of these emerging industries like transport and other forms of business? Then also I want you to give us some highly profitable and low cost to set up businesses for women, especially women that are in camps where we have chronic conflicts like in DRC, and then also the refugees that get into Rwanda from DRC. How can we give those women some new forms of income or some new forms of business? And we are looking at you as innovators to give us some new forms of financing or new forms of business. Then the last pathway mainly looks at an inclusive environment for every citizen. And here, what are some of the needs or what are the issues that we are trying to address? We are looking at access to justice. A lot of injustice has been happening in most of the communities that are faced with conflict. And we would like you to address issues of justice, issues of civic engagement. So how do you empower the communities to have a strong voice to the government, to the local governments, so that they are better heard? And we want you to address issues of transparency, issues of accountability, issues of corruption by the different offices or different systems in the target countries. Then also we want you to address issues of sexual and gender-based violence towards women, towards men, and also towards the children. And the issue of gender-based violence is most pronounced in DRC, specifically in North Kivu and also in South Kivu. So I want you to give us some new forms of addressing gender-based violence. And what are some of the examples of projects maybe which you could submit? We are looking at you submitting some platforms that engage the local and central governments and that are tailored to promoting government accountability, transparency, and responsiveness to the needs of the local communities. So we are looking at you to give us some new approach.
Sorry about that, Julius. Meanwhile, Julius is still trying to get back online. I will read a few questions.
Hello?
Julius, are you okay?
Yes, so we are looking at you giving us some of those new approaches that could address issues of governance and transparency. Then also I want you to use like innovative art, music, dance, and drama, and then also sports to address issues of governance and then accountability. So I'll quickly look at what are we looking out for. We are looking out for innovations, and innovations are not merely technologies, but this could be approaches, or they could be concepts, or they could be models of doing business differently, and instead of continuing like business as usual. And we are looking at paradigm changes. These are things that can transcend the norm of doing business as usual. And I'll give you an example. We can look at like maybe a mobile phone. It was mainly invented for people to call in and then also receive. But right now, a mobile phone is being used to do all sorts of things, and texting, WhatsApping, mobile money, e-banking, and the rest. So people are using the phone to do a lot of business. So I want to give us some of those paradigm changes so that the communities are better or they are more resilient. We also want you to give us some platform projects where you can launch different sub-projects or projects that can synergize with each other. That's mainly what we are looking at. And your project should be able to be transformative and also should be able to disrupt the environment where we are working. So who is eligible? So we are looking at university-based teams, and these could be either individuals or they could be teams. So we are looking at students teaming up into student-student teams. We are looking at faculty teaming up into faculty teams, but also we are looking at synergies between students and then also faculty. We could have students teaming up with faculties, what we are calling a student-faculty team. And then also we are looking at NGOs and some CBOs that could give us some innovations. But however, for NGOs, they should be working within the target communities or the target countries. That's Uganda, DRC, Rwanda, and then also Tanzania. But also on top, they should get a lot of support from either Makerere, Ogulu, or Muhimbili University in Tanzania, or the University of Rwanda, or the University of Kinshasa, because this is mainly a university-led program. So we want to link the NGOs to the universities so that they work together on the solutions. But also we are looking at some other teams that could be merely individuals that are not NGOs, they are not students, and they are not faculty. But this could be individuals that do understand the local context of our target communities. Yes, so I'll go into our last slide, which is about judging. So judging will mainly take into, it will be a staged phase of judging. So we shall have, we've already uploaded our judging criteria, and you can look at it by visiting our grants website. But key to note is that your idea should have some technical plausibility and alignment to our focus or our run theory of change. So your idea has to be technically sound, but it should also address a human need. Don't think about some weird idea, maybe to benefit yourself or to benefit a few groups, but we want an idea that can be scaled across countries, but also across continents. So we are looking at such key or such novel ideas, but also we want ideas that contribute to the conservation of the environment. We don't want you to come in and have an idea that will perhaps maybe destroy the environment, bring in issues of climate change, and then the rest. We want you to give us some ideas that are conserving the environment. And then also lastly, we are looking at ideas that have a viable business models, because later on these will be scaled to various communities or countries. So I want you to think about your business model and how this idea will be sustained, how this idea will be sustained when we close out this funding. So the deadline for you to apply is on April 11th, so it's about 2 or 2.5 weeks. So I want you to write up very fast and have your submissions coming in. So I'll end here and then give the audience to Sheila, maybe to take us through the next phase.
Thank you so much, Julius. That was a wonderful presentation. And unfortunately, we'll be answering a few questions that you have. If you have a question and you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. There's a raise hand icon right next to your name. You can raise your hand or you can type in the question box what question you'd like to ask. For now, I will have Julius and Nathan take on the questions that have so far come in. Someone here is asking if the grant support project ideas in areas of long post-conflict, especially in Rwenzori, are welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, we are welcoming ideas from all corners of the country, Uganda, but also from all corners of the continent. And But key to note is that your ideas should be solving a challenge to do with conflict. So I know like the Rwenzori region in Uganda has been faced with a lot of conflict. There are lots of small conflicts that are still even going on up to now. But I want you to focus on some issues of conflict like in northern Uganda. Like how can we help the communities in northern Uganda to recover after a conflict? But it can also be something that can be either piloted on a small scale in the Rwenzori region, but then it can be later on applied to any conflict setting.
Nathan, do you have something to add to that? Unfortunately, we still can't hear you, Nathan. So I'll go to the next question. Someone else here is asking that phase 1 has an implementation phase that is May 9th to November 9th. How can this be differentiated from second phase piloting?
Yes. What will happen in phase 1, it's going to be a very short period of about 6 months. And we are looking at mainly solution development. And the solution can be developed in any community, like where you are. Like if you're a student, you can develop it at your university. If it's a technology, like maybe to handle post-harvest losses, technology in agriculture, you can develop it in your community. And then you submit to us a refined prototype, which we can now take to a relatively bigger community for pilot. So we are not limiting you to where you are going to be developing your solutions from. You can develop these solutions from wherever you are, and then later on we can take that to our target communities for piloting. So it's going to be a very short phase of about 6 months for you to mainly come up with a tangible, a viable concept or a viable prototype.
Thank you, Julius, for that. There's someone here saying, hello, this is Hosea Jemba. My question is about eligibility. You said it's only for university students, faculty, student teams, and NGOs and CBOs. Is that all? What if we are outside those three? Yes, Julius?
Yes, we are. Yes, thank you, Sheila. And yes, we did mention that we are targeting students, faculty, NGOs, but also we are targeting individuals that are outside those, the categories. But key to note is that if you are not a student or if you are not a faculty, then in a way you might have to link up with the universities that are listed on our website. That's Makerere and Gulu University in Uganda, then Muhimbili in Tanzania, University of Rwanda in Rwanda, and then also University of Kinshasa in DRC, and get a letter of support, because this is a program that is being managed by a university, and we want to take universities to the community. So we want you to work with the university. Like you could identify a faculty, and if you don't have a faculty, we have focal point persons in all these universities. So you could write to us either at support.earilab.org or any of our email addresses, and then we can put you in touch with the different faculty members that we have in these universities. So if you have a problem to access a faculty or a university, you can just write to us, and then we can directly put you in touch with someone to work with. Thank you.
Thank you, Julius. And Harriet here is asking, if I already have a running innovation which is at piloting stage, am I still eligible?
Yes, thank you very much. Like I did say, this is a solution development stage, but we know also innovations move through an iteration process. You could have a working prototype that's in the communities that is being tested, but then the prototype is still getting feedback. So this idea is also welcome. So we can, you can submit it, and then we can see how best to have it made iterated, and then taken to scale. So we are also welcoming people that already have working prototypes that we could take in the communities together. So that idea is very much welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Julius. And Bosco Amerit is asking that each pathway has various tracks. We are required to apply for only one track under the respective pathway. How can one integrate two tracks that cut across pathways, pathway tracks in one proposal, e.g. track 1 and track 4?
Yes, thank you very much. What we've done that we've organized our challenge into a pathway, then under the pathway we have the different tracks. And what the tracks help us is mainly to be like, straight to the point. So we wouldn't want you to mix ideas. Like if you have an idea, maybe in track 3, then you have to launch it under track 3. Like I'll give you an example. Track 6 is about inclusive environment and governance. So we want you to mainly look at that. And then also hit the point on target.
Unmuted.
Yes, apologies. If you could just repeat that last phrase, you broke off for a minute there.
Yes, I think I also recognized someone who was unmuting and then also muting me. Yeah, but what I was saying is that we wanted our innovators to be specific and apply to a certain track. However, you can apply with multiple ideas. Like you could submit like 2 to 3 ideas, but they should be under a specific track. Like if you're addressing something in financial inclusion, you tell us how are you going to address that. If you're looking at governance, you tell us how are you going to provide an inclusive environment in a conflict setting. And if you're looking at maybe perhaps agriculture, then we want you to tell us how will you modernize agriculture. So how would you modernize, someone who's in a deep community? So we wanted you to be specific to the point. That's why we created like the tracks so that we don't mix ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Julius. Bosco, if the responses that have been given are not sufficient, please raise your hand. I see you raised your hand. I will unmute your microphone and you can directly speak to Julius. Otherwise, I'll have the next question. Someone here is asking that if my innovation is already being funded by another entity, is it eligible for this application? But Julius, just before you answer that, I will unmute Bosco and he can ask his question. Yes, Bosco.
I had a follow-up question on implementation on phase 1. I note that you had indicated that this is kind of a prototype. What if your proposal doesn't require proper prototyping? It's a method, methodologies, implementation. How do we get to proceed within the implementation in phase 1? What would we plan in that area? Because I thought the similarity with phase 2 are very close. I was not clear on that one. I didn't get it clearly.
Yes, thank you very much, Bosco. And I hope I did get your question clear. But what we are looking at, what I started with, that an innovation can be either a prototype or a technology, but it could also be an approach, or it could be a new method of doing business. Like I'll give you an example. Excuse me. If you're solving something to do with conflicts and then maybe you want to engage communities, you might not develop like a technology that maybe they could, interact with, but you could also develop a platform where maybe their voices could be better heard, so that they also contribute to the governance, in a more inclusive manner. So we want you to give us some approaches that could be used to solve some challenges. So it might not be necessarily maybe some product or some technology, but it could be an approach of doing business better in a more disruptive, but in a more transformative style. So I don't know if I did clarify that well.
Yes, it's okay now. It's kind of coming out clear. We can go with that. Thank you very much.
But I'm happy to, give you some more clarification if that doesn't fit.
I'll make a follow-up when I get to require more.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Over to you, Sheila.
I'm still reading the other question, which I started reading. It says that if my innovation is already being funded by another entity, is it still eligible for this application?
Yes, exactly. If your innovation is already being funded, like by another funder, like maybe to develop a prototype or something, we can still fund you, because what we are looking at is also your potential to leverage resources, because that's already a plus. It means that actually your idea is already receiving a lot of interest from the community and then also from the different funding agencies. So please, you are welcome to apply, because we are also looking at sustainability, because that's one way of catching the different funders. And so we are looking forward to receiving your idea. Even if it is still being funded by someone else, we can still work together. We can work out a method of, working together so that both interests, because I know the other funder also has their own interests, but also we have our own interests. So we can work out a way of, shooting at the same target with the same innovation.
All right, thank you, Julius. Bosco, I still see your hand raised up. Do you still have something to say? Hello?
Yes, I had, sorry, I must apologize for the background, the noisy background, but I wish to have inquired on the districts. You have some themes that cover 3 districts. Our interest is to know if phase 1, we should develop a proposal that covers 1 district, then we scale it up later, or it should cover all the 3 districts within the same sub-him.
Yes, thank you very much, Bosco. And I'll take it that you are referring to the 3 districts in Uganda, which is Padel, Lamo, and Lira. Yes,
Exactly.
These are communities where we have carried out extensive research, and these are mainly our testing grounds where your innovations will be tested or where they will be piloted when they reach phase 2, which is mainly the pilot stage. But for this phase of funding, which is solution development, you can work in any community. You just have to inform us the community where you're going to work, and then you start to develop your idea. We don't link you to any of those communities. We do not limit you to working in Lira or Padel or in Lamo. So you can work in any community of your preference in order for you to develop your solution, your idea.
Thank you very much. I get it clear now. It's okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Bosco, for that question. I'll have another question here. Are the marginalized or unprivileged groups, like the refugees, a target for this call? Are they included in these communities affected by chronic conflict?
Sorry, beg your pardon? Could you repeat that one more time?
Are the marginalized or unprivileged groups, like the refugees or like the refugees, a target for this call? Are they included in those communities affected by chronic conflict?
Yes, that's a yes. And here specifically we are looking at Rwanda, where we have a lot of refugees that come from DRC to seek asylum in Rwanda. So these are a particular group which we are interested in. So if you have an innovation that could look at improving their livelihood in the camps, either through education or a business that they can take on as that one is welcome, but it has to be really very innovative and very, very disruptive. We don't want you to give us the same business as usual, like maybe we shall sensitize refugees about maybe their rights, or if you are looking at justice, but we want you to give us something that is feasible, something that is tangible, but also something that can transform them, that can give them a better livelihood, but also that can give them like a better life while they stay in these camps. These are a particular community which we are targeting, especially for the communities in Rwanda, where we have a lot of refugees that are coming in from DRC.
Okay. Thank you, Julius. I have a Justus here from Renzori Center for Research and Advocacy in Uganda, and he's asking if you can share your presentation. Could you share your research with me?
Yes, I think we are going to share it with the teams, but also maybe what I need to hear from you, Sheila, do we have their email addresses on the platform, or how best can we share it? But this is something that is open, that we can share with all our potential applicants.
Yes, to reply to that, we have all the registrants' email addresses. And for those that have gone ahead to register for the call, we have the telephone numbers, so we can ably share online for that. And
Okay, thank you very much.
upload it on our website, the presentation that Julius just made.
Okay.
And then there's another question here asking for the deadline. Says that there was a confusing deadline of 18th, and another of 11th April. Which deadline is it?
Yes, thank you very much. The correct deadline should be 11th of April, and I think the 18th is somewhere in the middle of the grant document. I think that was more of an editing error, but the right deadline, which is on our timeline or the schedule within the call, is April 11th, but also this is the same deadline that is running on all our run and then also on the grant websites. So we apologize for the little mix-up in the grant document. I think there's an 18th which is mentioned somehow within the document, but the right deadline is 11th of April. Thank you.
Thank you, Julius. So I have someone who just joined from Italy, and Marcelo. He's asking that he's interested in the initiative about promoting new technologies for African countries, especially in the field of agro-environmental sciences, and he's asking if he can participate even if he's not from Africa.
Sorry, could you repeat that one more time?
I think the question is about eligibility. Can someone who is not from Africa participate?
Yes, thank you very much, Marcelo. Yeah, so this is an open call. It's open to everyone across the globe. So that's a yes. And but what we want that person is mainly to link up with a university within East Africa, either Muhimbili in Tanzania, Makerere in Uganda, Ogul in Uganda, or University of Rwanda, or University of Kinshasa in DRC. And if they don't have any contact person, that to provide them a linkage to these universities. So because one, the university person will be mainly following up with the implementation of this idea. So I want you to get in touch with the faculty or a student from these local institutions, but the call is open to everyone.
Yes, and then someone is asking a technical question, that how indeed do they apply for this challenge?
Yes, applying to this challenge, applications are going to be received via our online platform, which is posted on grants.runlab.org. So we are not going to accept any applications coming on via email or any other way apart from the platform. And what you have to do is mainly to go to our website and then you create your account. And after creating your account, you will proceed to the template, and then you can start filling in the different sections of that template. So we request you to go sign up and then log in, and then also have an experience of the platform so that you can apply. So maybe Sheila, do you want to add to that?
Not really. Maybe that they have to know that in case they can't apply, the support.earilab@runlab.org email is always open, and someone will be ready to answer whatever query you have.
Yes, maybe also to sorry, Sheila, maybe also to tell them that the application template has also been on our grants website, so they could download it, complete it offline during their free time, but then they will have to go in and copy and paste within the online platform. So they can work offline, and then at the time of submission, they will have to log in and then paste in. And there are just a few documents maybe which we shall maybe request them to upload again on the platform, like uploading your work plan, uploading your budget, and then also the letter of support from the university. But otherwise, the applications will be received on our online platform. And we are doing that mainly to safeguard people's ideas, because we don't have access to the platform. It's only a few people, or the judges, that will have access to your applications. So we won't accept anything through email or any other channel apart from the platform. Thank you.
This form also can be accessed from the RUN main website and the EARI Lab website. That's EARILab@runlab.org. And then lastly here, someone is asking, how long do you take to announce the grant winners? Do you really follow the schedule shared? I applied for the Youth Spark Innovations grant, but till today I have not received feedback. Do you share feedback with applicants, successful and unsuccessful, for growth and capacity building?
Yes, thank you very much. This particular call, the judging process will mainly take about 1 month. We are going to be strict with, the deadlines. It will take us 1 month. But also to notice that all the information is usually shared on our online platform. And we normally give feedback like to teams, like this is going to be judged across 2 phases. Like we tell people that you've proceeded maybe from phase 1 and your innovation has reached, or your idea has progressed to level 2 or phase 2 of judging. So we usually give out such information. And I think we've also done the same for the YC, or the student grant. We've already communicated to the successful teams that their ideas have at least reached a certain level of judging. So we encourage you to keep checking our either the RUN website or the grant website, because those are the 2 platforms where we normally share the information. But also, if someone wants to know of anything, you can always email us. We've indicated our emails on our Facebook and all other channels. So you can write to us either at support@earilab.org, and we can give you team specific feedback. And he's also mentioning like capacity building. We could point to like areas where maybe we thought you could do better, or areas where you could improve. And you can also visit us at our offices if you're in Kampala, or if you're in Uganda. You could also visit us at our offices in Kololo, and we give you some of this feedback. And a lot of teams have done that. They have approached us either on mail or at our offices. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Julius. And we'll have our very last question, since the webinar was supposed to be for 1 hour, but we've let it go past that because we started a bit late. And someone is asking, how do you as a lab support IP processes?
Yes, thank you very much. We have a robust policy for handling IP issues, which is also detailed within the grant document. So usually IP is handled on a case-by-case basis, and we have a lawyer who handles our IP. But if your idea is already developed to a certain level and you have the patent or the IP for it, you can always open that to us and we can negotiate. We usually handle IP on a case-by-case basis. But as a university or as a network, we have no monetary or any other conflict of interest in your innovation. But what we want is you working with the communities. If you did check on page 36 of the grant document, if you did download it, it basically tells us how we are going to walk through the IP process. So page 36 of our grant document has the full detail, but IP usually we are open and we handle it on a case-by-case basis. But at least we don't have any conflict of interest or stealing, any innovator's idea. We normally leave it to them and then they manage it. But key to note is that the ideas have to be patented at one stage. Thank you, Sheila.
Yes, thank you so much for that. And I have a Harriet Fia who has just joined us, and she's asking if we have special templates for developing the project proposal.
Yes, we have a template on our online platform. Harriet should just go to grants.runlab.org, and then there's a small window, and then you click on it, and then you download the application template. It has been already uploaded, mainly to guide you, and this is about, it has about 3 or 4 stages, like what is the problem you're solving, how are you solving it, what is the kind of work plan, and then what's the budget to pull off this idea. So it has just a few steps, and we are looking at about 5 to 10 pages. It has to be short and well summarized.
Thank you.
Over to Sheila.
Yes, thank you, Julius. I will allow the last 2 people who have just joined us. If you have any question you'd like to ask, please raise your hand. There's a raise hand icon next to your name. Just raise your hand. I'll unmute your microphone and then you can be able to speak to us. But as they decide to do that, I'll just read out a few announcements. We're going to have a physical support clinic, which is taking place here at Kololo, at our offices in Kololo, and you can join us and the team to give you any support, physical and technical support on 30th March here at our offices in Kololo, which is just above the airstrip, adjacent to MTN Yonyi Gardens. If we do not have any other questions, I will let Julius conclude.
Yes, thank you very much, Sheila, for hosting us on this second webinar, and then also for all our participants that have attended this webinar. So we believe as a lab, given you all the information that you need, we've basically charged you and we want you now to take off. So we want you to go to our platform, that's grants.runlab.org, and download your application template, start working on it, form teams, get the letter of support if you need it, but also get back to us by way of inquiry, like at support.ea.org, and then we shall be able to respond to some of your issues. We are looking at you as innovators. You have all this information, you've done the research, but we want you now to translate it in solutions that could help communities and solutions that can make a name both for the run but also for yourselves. We want to see the next people who invent the new Facebook or the new WhatsApp or the new platform that can help these communities that are struggling with the different challenges. So we shall be available either online But also we are available physically. If you are within Uganda, you can always visit us and we give you all the necessary support. But we can't wait to welcome or to receive your ideas. And so we've given you the money, we've given you the information, so it's upon you now to compete and then submit these paradigm changes, these innovative or disruptive solutions. So once again, thank you, Sheila, for hosting us.
Right. Thank you, Julius. You have been a wonderful presenter. I would like to clarify that the email address is support.earilab@runlab.org. And the application deadline is 11th April 2016. We look forward to receiving your applications and thank you for participating today. Goodbye.